Tasha, what's up?
Hello.
Hi. Hola. How's it going? What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, Rudy, Marcos,
Rudy.
Tasha.
Morning.
I got all these people. Let me see this real quick. I realized last week that I only could see like the top 3 people. And so on the evening call, I talked to like everybody. Like there was only 5 of us, but there was 8 of us. And 3 people were on another screen that I couldn't see. So that sucked. So basically just ignored a bunch of really cool people for like a whole hour. That was awesome. So, um, hi guys. Well, let me just say this too. Uh, Petra and Israel are like way overrated. So I'm really glad that we're here because like if I just want to see that, I just watch like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Like we already know how to get through all of that and get to the Holy Grail. So like duh. Like obvi, Spielberg already went there. Like not a big deal. So anyways,
You're not jealous, huh?
no, not even a little.
No, me neither.
Not even a
Mm-mm.
little bit. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's really not that important. You know what I mean? Like the important thing is that we're all one, and so we
Mhm.
all share in that experience. You know, like we all get the revelation.
Yeah.
We're all connected. So what's cool
course.
about it is like I don't have to do a lot. I don't have to travel to get what they're getting right now. Like it's really sweet, you guys. So that's good. No big deal. What was I going to say though too? Also, I think that's kind of it. Jeez, today is tax day for me and Chrissy. So we have like a tax appointment, which is sketchy, and so the last 2 days have been us just like running around doing paperwork, and that really means Chrissy running around doing paperwork because her brain is like way better at this stuff than I am. So I just like drive around and try to find bank statements and like do random crap, but really she's like the administrative genius. When I met her, she was like, I can run a small country in my head probably. And I was like, okay, well that's cool. Like that sounds nice. I mean, I don't know, I guess. So anyways, so at some point, maybe we'll do some stuff. That'll be good. Well, hi y'all. So we'll kick it off. This is great. Okay, I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us total. Is that all right? So there's 4 of you and 1 of me. Okay. Let me ask you guys this question because this has been something that's been percolating in my brain. What class are we in again? 8, 9?
We're in 10.
This was 10.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we did it, huh? So let me ask you this. That's so funny. Okay, I love the Lord because he hears my cry. So I would like to ask you guys this directly, and then let me know what you think. So it's been 10 weeks. Wow. 10 weeks. Gee whiz. Okay. Here's the question. Are you an evangelist? And do you feel like, yes, I'm an evangelist, and I want that grace on my life to be a gift to the rest of the church? Not everybody is probably going to resonate. Like in the whole crew, I bet there's people that are like, I like it, but like, there's just, you might have something else stirring in your DNA that's like happening where you're like, no, I'm so glad that I have this experience because my heart culture is deeply prophetic, but I want it to be evangelistic. And so, or I want to build, but I do this other stuff. So I think in general, I'm just realizing that just because people do the mentorship, it doesn't mean that they're all going to be commissioned, because just like some of you guys going through some of the other classes, you get to the end and go like, well, I'm glad that happened. And I don't know if that's me. So I just realized that as we're halfway in, it might be intriguing to sort of, what are you learning about evangelism? Do you actually feel like this is helping you either understand or become a better evangelist? that kind of stuff. So let's talk about evangelism today. That's basically what I got. So, there's that. We could just that. So, because ultimately at the end of this 20-week process, I would love to be able to look at each, whoever decides that they are like a yes, and this really is the grace in operation in my life, on like a higher level than other graces in my life. And like, I am pursuing this because it actually is alive in me. And that way I can say with full confidence, like, yeah, I'm pumped to commission you as an evangelist to the body of Christ. And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you can look back and go like, no, like there was a real like moment of commissioning and sending around this grace in my life. And if it's not now, and it's not evangelism, I'm not going to be upset at all. I want this to be discovery for you guys. So really, are you an evangelist? Do you really feel like there's a governmental gift of evangelism that's in operation in your life? And then has this 10-week process actually helped, and how? Or not, and if it's a no, then I'm going to mute you and you can email me, because I don't want to deal with that kind of criticism right now publicly. I'm not interested in that. That's not designed to make me feel good, and that's why I'm here. I'm building my empire, and I'm at the top, and I need to feel good about what I'm doing. So don't kill my vibe. Okay, here we go. So just joking. All right. So whoever feels like it, I'd love to just kind of hear what is happening as an evangelist. Do you actually feel like this is unlocking stuff in you? Do you actually feel like, no, I want to be commissioned as an evangelist, and this is actually helping? So that as we're halfway in, you kind of know what's going on. Because I think the next 10 weeks are going to be awesome people you get to hear from. And at that point, I hope it's just fuel on the fire and you get to take inspiration and kind of like work with it a little bit. But I just think because my 10 weeks of teaching is done in the classroom setting. So I'm intrigued to kind of see where you guys feel like you are. So whoever feels like starting, jump on in. We'll do some stuff and some things. It'll be cool. Okay, well.
Okay.
Marcos, I appreciate you. I really do. I literally just decided I wasn't going to look at any of you until someone started talking. And I'm like, oh, what is this journal that I have? Sure, why not? Let's look at that for a while. I haven't looked at this and filled it. Surely I don't know what's happening in here. Okay, what's up?
Yeah, yeah, for me, it's been really awesome. I learned a lot about myself, like in ways where I realize I know I'm an evangelist, but there's a lot of places in my life and in my heart that I need to mature, and just how to steward that properly and don't, not be an idiot and, be seen as the guy with the sign, at the corner of the street. And because I just never want to be perceived like that. So, but I found a lot of things in my heart where, maybe I was a little bit like that. So that's been really awesome. And yeah, just a lot about myself and learning a lot about myself and in my family, how to treat my family as an evangelist and that kind of stuff. That's been really, really awesome. Like, I didn't expect all that stuff. I didn't expect all that. And you were pretty hard, you're pretty hard. That was surprising. I always seen you as a go-lucky guy, but you were like on it and you're like, I want you guys to do the work and study your Bible and really hard. So that was really awesome and challenging for me. So, because I thought it was just going to be a breeze. I was like, oh, it's going to be awesome. Tommy Green's like the fun guy.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm a barrel of monkeys.
You're
fun,
no, you're hardcore, man. You're hardcore. So it's been really great. And just the confidence in me, I've had a lot more confidence. So like just to open up to people and just not be afraid. Yeah, that's been a big deal. Just in conversation and really just opening up and a lot more confidence. Self-esteem has gone like up. And so, yeah, so it's been awesome. It's been
Wow.
good. We had a crazy week though. Had a crazy Sunday. I had to make a lot of agreements on Sunday
Come on.
with my daughter and stuff. Like we're on our way to church, and we're just like trying a new church, and it was, the kids were fighting and having, a berserk time. So I was like, that's it. I'm not. We were in the parking lot. I'm like, I'm not going to church like this. Like I'm not. That's it. I'm not doing it. And so we ended up driving for 2 hours to a city next to our city, about 2 hours, and we had like an awesome time in the car, and just heart to heart, and we got to talk as a family. So it was like it was huge because we made a lot of agreements, and
Yeah.
we really the rubber hit the road. We were able to have some good heart to heart, and so still crazy last couple of weeks though, with the classes and stuff, but it's good. It's wrecking us, and it's all good. We're getting better.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's been good.
Okay. Do you feel like in thinking of like your heart for people, your heart as a worshiper, your heart in hearing and seeing, and then potentially even your heart in building your life, right? Like, do you feel like evangelism is the primary grace that's on your life?
Yeah, I do. I've learned that more. Like I always thought it was before, but not so sure. But now I'm like, yeah, man, that's really it. That's really it.
Okay.
That's my heart, and I see it now in myself more than ever. And I'm like, and I see why I had struggles before in church and related with pastors and stuff in certain places where I had a hard time. Now I'm like, yeah, okay, I know now why. I really
Okay.
know why. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
so it's been awesome. Like, so I know I'm an evangelist. I just it's in me. It's bleeding out my veins. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's cool, Marcos. I
And
appreciate that. That's sick.
yeah, so it's been good.
Okay. Well, shoot me an email a little bit about what some of your agreements as a family were, like really clear ones. So that way, if I ask you, like, are you guys holding up? Are you guys staying true to your word to each other? How is that going? And that's stuff that you guys are going to work through over time. But I love
Yeah.
the fact that you like skipped the meeting to like go deep, because it would be real easy to just do a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I think that's really brave of your girl. I think it's just awesome of your family to like engage on that level and try to really get some clarity, especially because as you're doing ministry now and there's a new chapter of like ministering that can open up, there's pressure and there's performance and there's like all this stuff that can begin to cloud connection time. It can take away from some of the best parts. And so that's really sick that that's something that you guys did. So yeah, spell those out for me in a clear way. So if I ask you about it and go, how are you doing with your agreements? How's your commitment in your family? You can let me know, like, okay, I'm doing good here, and maybe I'm missing it there. And then that way in the future, if you need it, we can talk through some of that. But that's slick. I like that. That's cool. I think you're an evangelist. It's just one of those things of like, just wanting to make sure you guys are connecting. So that's awesome, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's been good.
Hey, Tasha. Talk to me.
Yes.
Come on.
What? Did you have a question?
Remember the whole like 9-minute question that I asked at the beginning of the call? That's probably where I'm at. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I feel like I'm an evangelist. Let's see, what was the other question? What have I been learning? A lot of this, the last 10 weeks has been confirmation of where I've been in the past 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years. A lot of this is, let's see, I've already been working out. Does that make sense? Like some of the classes where you're talking about, I don't know, like family and things like that. Like yesterday's class was focus more on your family. Yeah, I focus more on my family than I do on anything else. So I've kind of already worked and walked through a lot of that stuff. So it's just a lot of confirmation for me. Watching a lot of the classes, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is so good. Tommy and I have pretty much the same heart, So, yeah. It's been good. The vulnerability thing was a little hard because I didn't realize that that was my vulnerability. So that was really good. And I did more digging in deeper stuff after that. So, yeah. I don't know. What else you want to know? I loved it. I still love it. And I know I'm an evangelist, you know?
Yeah. That's cool. Do you feel like you not only want to like be a gift to the body of Christ, but that this is like a thing that you want to see like multiplied?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, with the whole mayor thing, just, you know, throwing this out, you're like, take this as a prophetic word. Okay, so I prayed about it, and I'm like, okay, Lord, you know how I hear from you. Give me a dream. So that night, He gave me a really awesome, amazing dream about that whole situation. About, yeah, you could be mayor now, and this would be great, and this is how it would turn out. He goes, or you could do it my way, take the next 4 years, do what I'm doing, and already be on this path, because He'd already put me on this path of opening up a practice. So I have to go to my final practitioner training in April in Palm Springs. And so building up a relationship more that way as well. And, you know, throughout the community and going to different community events and building that up more. So in the next go around, I think I'm going to go for mayor, but not at this point.
That's sick. So you're going to start so making a stronger presence in the marketplace and then growing from that point.
Yeah.
You think that's like your on-ramp?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I heard it.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it.
It's like, so the Lord gave you a dream. So God talked to you and you're like, okay, I could do it right now, whatever, or I could do it this other way. And so you're choosing to do it this other way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And this way, you know, I mean, my kids too, you know, I homeschool them and have more time with my kids now. And then when, you know, by then my youngest will be 12. So it'll be a better time to be able to go and work on the community, you know, in depth.
It's awesome. It's super awesome. I love it. I want you to be the mayor. I would like, I think that would be super duper slick.
Yeah.
To go, yeah, that'd be way cool. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Here's my question for you, Miss Tasha.
Yes.
Imagine that you're standing in a room with your husband or with like one of your kids, and someone in the room begins to speak negatively about them.
About my husband or one of the kids?
Yeah, about somebody that you love, right?
Okay.
Okay. And you don't say anything.
Okay.
And how that would feel is like, what do you think? How would you feel if you just didn't say anything while someone was bad-mouthing someone that you cared about?
If I didn't say anything?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I would have to, oh gosh. I would have to feel that, I don't know. I'd have to say that I'd feel hurt, but I'd also understand. Does that make sense? Let's put it this way. Let me give you an example of something that has happened in the past, I don't know, 9 months, about 6 months ago, 9 months ago. My daughter was raped, and by somebody in her Bible study, right? So Young Life Bible study. I go, you know, when I find out I'm supposed to be taking her to the Bible study, and that's when I found out. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? And she goes, well, it wasn't entirely, you know, I was kind of wanting to, but I was really pressured into it and all this stuff. Anyway, so I go to the Bible study just pissed off. I left the house and I walked into the Bible study. I told the director, I'm like, can I talk to you outside? And I asked the kid to come and meet me outside. I was angry. I was going to get ready to that's fine, to just, pummel somebody. And I was sitting there and I was just super mad. I looked at this kid and I heard God's like, he's my son too. And he's gone through this, and just gave me a huge download. And I looked at him, my countenance just completely changed, complete peace over me. And I'm like, you know what? I know you know that you did something wrong. And I just talked to him and I gave him a hug. And I said, can I just give you a mama hug? And I hugged him and he started bawling and just weeping. And you know what? He still contacts me today like he's my kid and asks me questions and saying, this is what's going on with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a long journey trying to listen to God instead of my immediate reaction feelings. Does that make sense?
It's good.
So in that type of situation, I have to look at what they're going through, what that person's going through before, because that's the way I am. And I've learned that through my through my divorce, because it's like, God, I know he can be a good person, and I know, and all this stuff. He beat the crap out of me. He did a ton of stuff, but it's like, I can't keep him away from the kids. I can't do, because you know what I mean? So just learning, like, why is he this way? And it's not what his heart is, because it's not what God made him to be. And so when I look at people and they're yelling or screaming or something like that, I always see what's really going on in their heart. And I'm like, okay, Lord, what is really going on in the situation? So in that type of situation, I would be hurt. Yeah, that you're saying something about my family, but I would also look at this situation like, really, what's going on?
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So part of the why I would ask that question for you is, do you show that same compassion and mercy to yourself?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. And since that vulnerability thing, I've been working at it even more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. That's my question. There's a part of me that felt like, okay, I'm gonna ask you this question because it's something that I might ask all of you guys, whether you realize it or not, is for me, right? Like what I'm learning right now, presently, is that I love God like a lot. I love Jesus a lot. And I love people like a lot. But I don't love me like at all. Which is interesting. Like, so I would use your guys' reflection of me to find value in me, as opposed to saying, like, I like my own company. Like, if someone said anything negative about Mark or Rudy or Karina or Dax, and I stood there, I would feel a little bit like I'm betraying them a little bit right now because I'm not standing up for them, because they're worth valuing and they're worth protecting and they're worth speaking up for. But my own thought life rips myself apart, and I don't defend myself at all. So I don't treat myself as well as I would treat one of you. And so I don't know if that's the actual fulfillment of the first commandment. And so I love the fact that in mercy, you can see with the eyes of the Lord into people that would offend or hurt or damage, and you can see their story. And so the same question is cool that you took it to that place, because when you're like, why am I asking her this? It just felt like I was supposed to. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so that's how you treat the offender. Like, you can see them. And I go, cool. Do you do that for yourself? Like, do you treat yourself as well as you would treat the lost? That's my question.
That's good. I like it.
So anyways, if we're supposed to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, we're supposed to love one another the way that Christ loved us.
And, for me, that's my first question when somebody wants to come to Burning Man. How well do you love yourself? Like, because I think that's very, very, very important to be able to love yourself. Because how are you going to talk to somebody that is broken if you can't even love yourself? So that's one of the things that I'm always working on. But like I said, on that one whole vulnerability thing about going way back when I was 7, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that was there. So that's, I've been working on that, so in that aspect, I do love myself. I mean, you know what I mean?
I think I could say the same thing. I'm just realizing when I look in the mirror, like my guy said, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and tell this guy you're looking at that, like, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for you like I'd fight for someone else. And right when he said it, I just lost it and was like, oh my God, like, I kind of appreciate my story. I think I can be an okay guy, but in a lot of ways, I would prefer to love somebody else. And he's like, can you come up with nice things? Like, if I told you to come up with nice things to show Chrissy you love her, I was like, coffee, yoga, roses. Like, no problem. Just bop, bop, bop. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, that is no big deal. If it was for one of you guys, I could come up with stuff off the top of my head that would communicate that I care about you. And he's like, what about for you? And I was like, that doesn't feel good at all. Like, I don't. So just realizing and recognizing that there's these gaps in, if it's love school that we're all in anyway, where is this thing resonating with me? And so anyways, that was the part is going like, where I wanted to ask you a question about how you treated you and if you treated you as well as you would treat other people. And so it's cool that you went to like kind of the lowest common denominator and were able to find love and mercy and compassion. And I'm like, cool. So it's still the same question. Would you treat yourself the same way? And so I think that's a good question for us, maybe, as evangelists, right? And seeking to destroy the works of the devil and fight the good fight of the faith and snatch those from the flames and love people. Like, but do you preach that message to yourself? And can you actually value yourself in that? It's just something I'm learning. So that's why I felt like it was interesting to ask that. So I like that. My encouragement would be, Tasha, please turn that on for yourself as much as possible and keep track of it. Because I feel like the Lord really wants to, I think there's a lot in you that God can build upon. And then there's certain things that are like, just new levels. That's all. Just new levels of responsibility that are coming your way. And it's the type of thing where you really getting bigger on the inside is a thing. And I think it'll serve you really well. But it has to come from that place, like you're saying, of love. So anyways, all right, well, fine. Fine then. Well, be an evangelist. I like it. So Karina, the question was, as we're rolling through this, is like, we're at week 10. Are you actually an evangelist? Do you actually feel like this is the grace on you? Would you actually want to walk across the podium and be commissioned as a fivefold evangelist? And really, has this helped at all? And if not, what are you discovering about yourself? It's not like a judgment. It's just we're halfway through the course. So for everybody, that's kind of where we're starting, is like, are you actually resonating with this? Is this actually helping to set you up for where you feel like you're called? So, and then I just follow up with some weirdo question and try to make everybody cry. I don't know. That's like a thing. Not really. Karina, you need to go. I feel like you look happy, so now you have to talk, because that's sweet. And where's your baby?
He's in the bed behind me. He's just like fighting his nap so hard. So I keep like jumping off and trying to like nurse him, get him to sleep. And then he hears people talking and he's like, no.
Party.
So, at least he's not crying. But okay, so what do I have to talk about now? The questions? Am I answering your questions?
Yeah, you're answering my questions.
Okay. I definitely feel like I definitely feel like these classes have helped. And I was saying last week that there's like what you were just saying to Tasha at the very end about becoming bigger on the inside is so huge and pretty much perfectly describes, I feel like, what's been going on with me over the last 10 weeks. Like,
cool.
Every class, I don't know. I just have always been, I said last week, I've always been this type that is like not I don't like the idea of clarifying questions because I like fast and loose and go with the flow and show up without a net and make it work. Like I'm very much like, that's my style. And I've just been really, I don't know, not necessarily convicted, but like so constantly nudged by the Holy Spirit over the last couple months about get serious about what you're serious about. Like I've had all these visions, I've had all these dreams, I have this heart to do something, this like insane sense of urgency that like I can't kick, that like frustrates me and pisses me off when I'm not doing something. And I really have been feeling the Lord like saying, like how the first week's question will be about what you're about. That's been like, I've been starting to fall in love with like clarifying questions, like getting specific about what my visions are, what my plan is, who I am. And I don't know. It's just been a really, really good 10 weeks and hard because I tend to avoid like getting pinned down with like giving answers like that. It's just part of my nature, I guess, my wild, carefree nature. But to answer your question, yes, I do want to walk across the podium, and I do feel like there is a grace on my life for this. I do also recognize that right now I am in a quiet mom season, so I feel like I'm like, oh, I have all these plans. I want to go do this stuff and do this. And then I'm like, but I kind of need to lay here in this bed for a few hours longer with this baby and soak it up. And so it's kind of like this, there's a tension there, but I feel really good about what's going on the inside. And yeah, it's good. And I start my my personal coaching tomorrow night, which I told everybody several times that I was starting coaching lessons, and I kind of have put it off for like, I was supposed to start at the beginning of the year, and I've been like, oh, I'm busy. And then I'm like, shit, it's March. I got to start this.
Oh, so wait, are you going to become a coach, or are you being?
No, I'm getting coached. I would love to go into coaching myself later, but John decided to pay for me to do like 2 to 3 months of coaching, or no, 4 months of coaching 2 to 3 times a month.
That's sick. With who?
With Daniel Ates. Daniel from China. Daniel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good job. That's right. Okay. So I think my question then, because I think it's awesome. Again, I'm just realizing we're halfway through, and so not everybody on the call strikes me as like. Not everybody in the mentorship strikes me like, I'm just coming alive in evangelism. Like some people really do. And some people I think are still in their own process. Mm-hmm. And they very well could circle back around and be like, yeah, that's totally it. But not everybody is. And so everyone's discovering, and I don't have any judgment or, anything about that. So I just realized it might be helpful halfway through to go, is this you? Because what I don't want is to miss anybody, but what I'm not going to do is lie. So it's like, okay, like just because you go through it doesn't mean I'm going to pin a star on your chest and be like, now you're part of our evangelistic army of God. Like that has no value to me at all. Like, so that's cool. And then, so I thought this would be something kind of fun, either like a text or maybe like an email would be like, if you had like, I read a book chronicling. It's this pastor, he's like a huge like mega church pastor in Hawaii. And he wrote a book that chronicled his breakdown. He said he was going for an evening jog before a huge meeting. And all of a sudden he's sitting on the side of the road crying, and he doesn't know what just happened. But it's like all about how he kind of burned out, fell apart. Mm-hmm. And it's so I read it like 4 years ago, and it was like part of why we started the Rev thing, because I was like, oh my God, young leaders are signing up for like ministry, like they think it's something, and it is a killer. So like, what do we do? Anyways, and he talked about how because he's like 50 something now, and he's like, I really only have like 5 to 6 really good bursts of energy each day. And so where I spend those bursts of energy has to be really planned out. And I think I know that as like when I was a single dad, and then I know it now watching Chrissy and being like a parent to 4 humans all the time, is I have a limited number, like I have a limited number of bursts of energy that I can throw at during the day. And then there's momentum that just carries you through the event. So I'd be intrigued to know how many kind of bursts of energy you feel like you have in the day. And then where, if you were going to just prioritize where you wanted your little rocket booster to shoot you throughout the day, where do you give those specific times that you actually have the energy? Where do those go? Because if that's the only kind of true north you've got as you begin your coaching, that might be really helpful to go, these are actually my biggest commitments, and I have limited amount of time to do any one of them, so I have to be specific about what I do because I'm not used to that. But now my time is spoken for, my resources are spoken for, like my energy is actually spoken for. So like I have to be really clear about what I'm doing. And that way, if you feel like I don't want to tie myself down to like this regimented kind of thing, but I do need to be about my priorities. And so just saying these are really where I can give that energy. I'd be intrigued to know what that looks like for you. It might only be like 4 or 5 things, but I'm just intrigued to kind of see if in your perfect day,
Yeah.
if you only have like kind of one like afterburner for each thing, what does that actually look like for you? Well,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can send it.
sweet. Super sweet. Kenny Keene, let's hear it, bro. I just love you because I can see you smiling and like, yeah, like I'm feeling it. I'm like, yes. All right, talk about it.
I think my favorite thing is just cheering people on. I just love it. I love hearing everyone. So like when you're saying like I love people, and it's like I completely understand.
Yep.
That, and I relate so much to Karina because normally I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, but I didn't want to be one of the first people because I was like, I really wanted to put some thought into this. Like, am I called, to the specific grace of being an evangelist? And I think even though like I don't want to put myself in a box, I think for sure. I mean, my life in just the past 10 weeks, every single video, I'm like, oh my God, that's me.
Cool.
And it's given me more stuff, and I'm like, this is so my heart. I think I cried in almost every single video.
Ah, man, that's stuff.
And what's amazing is like seeing my life grow and change, and just seeing like more and more opportunities open up since starting this mentorship. Like, and then also like getting the crap that's inside has been drudged up too, and I'm like, it's at the surface, and I'm having to deal with it, and it's great. I freaking love it.
Yeah.
My big thing was like, am I a prophet or am I an evangelist?
Ooh, okay.
And my big, like being able to understand people, being able to see things, and like being kind of a watchman. Like, I love observing. I love feeling a room, finding out what's going on, and bringing what they need. But my heart is for the lost,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it's like I may have like a pretty high gift of discernment when it comes to people, but I just think that's what it is. I think that's just like part of my DNA. And I think this evangelism, like this calling, I mean, what's so cool is being able to do everything I've ever dreamed of since I was a little kid. And like, I just get to be myself, everything I've ever dreamed of, and like be myself and do something that I love. And it's like, I'm coming alive while I'm doing these things.
Wow.
I was the guy that I used to think it was such a bad negative quality that I could be like a chameleon. Like I could go over, hang out with these people and fit in.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I could, I think I went through like 5 or 6 different style changes in high school. Like
Sure.
I was goth, I was a raver, I was,
Of course you were. Of course you were.
narrative, and I was a surfer for a little bit, and like,
Yes.
yeah, and then I was like all about designer stuff, and I've been so many different things, and I thought it was bad, but like it's good, you know. Being able to like fit in wherever I go has been one of like the most amazing things, and you know,
That's
I
sweet.
found out that all these things that I thought were bad about myself are actually really good, and I'm really just starting to believe in myself. So I totally think I am called to the office of a fivefold evangelist, because I mean, when I'm doing this stuff, like my heart, like it comes alive. Like
Yo.
I get to speak tonight at our big AA meeting, and I'm talking about a subject that not a lot of people talk about, and that's the father relationship that it talks about in the Big Book. So the Big Book represents God as a director, a principal, a father, and an employer, but everyone else focuses on the other aspects of the relationship,
Oh, wow.
and they don't focus on the father because that's personal. So I'm going after that tonight, and
That
I'm going
is
to challenge people.
awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Will you do a YouTube video about it?
I don't think I can because it's anonymous. We can't.
What about for your story? Like, could you do that for people in recovery? Just you? Dude, I've never heard about that. And I think,
Yeah.
like, Manning talks about, you know, Brennan Manning with his, you know, being an alcoholic and everything. That is crazy. Yo, that's a really good one, bro. Oh my gosh.
This is the happiest I've ever been, you know?
Holy cow. They're just going to tee it up for you, bro. Just, all right, like, you'll get to go there. That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, you should do that for sure. I think that would be great.
And I have got some good news too. You know how I was really upset about my coworker last week?
Whoa, yes.
Well, we both got laid off yesterday.
Oh, oh,
No.
dude. So what?
It's a good thing though. Like, I'm friends with the doctor that I worked for.
Whoa.
And she is getting to be a part of a huge hospital out of Mexico. And like, this is everything that she's ever dreamed of. So they're giving her a team. They're giving her a call center, because it was just me and another lady running her office. So they're giving her a call center. They're giving her a staff of people. It's everything she's wanted. So because I love her so much, I was just like, dude, this is perfect.
Wow.
And you know, and actually after my week with working with the lady was actually a lot better afterwards, after talking about everything. And now I don't have to work with her ever again. You know?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But I see this, I was talking with Oseel, and this is an upgrade. This is an opportunity, because I may have loved working in the medical field, but that's not my calling. That's like not
Whoa.
who I am. And this is an opportunity for me to go after the things, because I've kind of been distracted a little bit with like my goals that I've had that we're supposed to do for this class. You know, when it comes to like me making these videos. And,
Yeah.
so I'm just really excited.
Yo, that's amazing. I like all of those things. Holy cow. Okay. Diana and Tasha, can you guys pray this week for Kenny? That would be sick, because I like all about that mentality, because it's like way kingdom, Kenny, that like generosity of spirit. That's sick. That is a good thing. So yes and amen, man, to a total upgrade. Yeah, that's good, dude. If you guys can pray for him, that would be sick. Just know we're like believing for good. And it's all messy in life and whatever, but like, yes, that's way cool. Holy cow. What about like the deliverance of God? That's crazy. Like that's wild. You were just talking about that. Oh my gosh.
It's so funny. Like,
Wow.
this weird stuff happens, and I'll sense something's changing in the spirit. And a lot of times what happens, and this is where I really want to mature. A lot of times what happens is I kind of freak out a little bit, and I attach it to a person. But what really is going on is I'm sensing a change that's about to happen.
Yeah.
So I want to get better because my heart is so, my heart is to love people and to understand what they're going through. But like when I sense something bad is going to, and that's kind of like the whole Watchmen thing. It's like when I sense something bad's going to happen, which wasn't even bad in the first place. But when I sense something's going on, it's like, okay, Kenny, what's really going on? And that's just me slowing down because I'm always like, go, 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 go fast, you know?
Yep. Okay, so do this for me then, because I would be really intriguing. Again, my whole process right now for myself in meditation is compassion, which is the goal of a practice like that. Apparently, I'm learning is to make compassion your default setting in all things, and not just admire compassion, but actually to like. And so the affirmation is like the affirmation is, may I be at ease, may I be free from suffering. And so it's just like kind of like stepping out of that flow. So in the spirit of meditation, what I would appreciate is send me an email like this week that outlines the last 3 times you felt something shifting and how you attach that to a person and what that kind of meant. Because that way you're going to go, okay, well, my discernment gift kicked on and I felt this and this and this, but like in breaking it down and slowing down and stepping out of that flow, like I can actually see what's going on in a different way. But I'm intrigued by that. I think the fact that you said you would attach what is perceived as negative events to a person, even though you can sense like the whole thing is shifting, that's really cool. So I'd like to know more about that. When you said that, I was like, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, heck yeah. Way to be awesome. Way to be awesome, awesome, awesome. Full of love. It's great. Great. That's good
Thank
stuff. Yeah. What was I going to say next? Yeah, that's good. Okay, Diana, what do you think?
Wow. Yes, I have learned like a lot of things on this track. And it's amazing and it blows me, like, I don't know. It's just so many confirmations basically of who I am. And I just wrote a few things down, but to wake up people, the creativity and business thing, the frustration of church. Like there are so many small details, like in all classes and all mentor calls and all things. Like I often have from people that you're so inspiring to listen to. Like you inspire people, and I love people. I just do. I mean, that's how I'm wired as a extrovert also. So, and also, yeah. But I said to the others last week after you had gone that it feels like I'm opening the back door into the evangelism instead of coming the other way. It's like people are already walking in it, but I'm not. Maybe in that way. Maybe it looked different. Maybe just that. So it feels like I'm still a little bit of a journey of discovering me in that process. Like, who am I? How does it look like when I'm in this? But it's something in my heart that really, like I said to my husband the other day, I think I'm an evangelist. Like, it was creepy to say it because I was like, there are so many things that's just laying down on the table right in front of me. I'm like, ooh, all of this is me, and all of it is just pointing to one thing.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And also what Ivan said, of course, I can't just ignore the prophetic word that has been coming in also. And also that my prophetic gift, the strength in it is the word of knowledge, which also is like, yeah, why shouldn't it be? Of course, because it's like a perfect match to the evangelistic. So
oh, yeah, okay. Your prophetic gifting serving the mission, like the prophetic isn't the mission, evangelism is the mission, and then the prophetic becomes a tool on that mission.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it could go the other way. I mean, where you're like, I love people, but like my favorite thing is to, so it'll work different for different people. And what I like about evangelism is like, I kind of get to take whatever I want of the fivefold. If I need to pastor people so they get saved, I'll do that. If I need to prophesy so someone gets saved, I can do that. If I want to build a church so people get saved, I can do that. If I just like want to like get people saved so I can get people saved, I'll do that too. Like it's just like, if I need to teach it, we'll teach it. But like I think it's cool to recognize, no, that is my thing, because there will be people in our mentorship that aren't going to be fully commissioned because that's really not where they're at. But they're evangelistic, but they're not like burning for the thing. And I don't exactly know what that looks like, because I think so many of us are like, when you're in love with Jesus, I think there's so much fluidity in who we are that we're like, whatever you need, man, I'll do it. But there is that sense of like, nah, yeah. Like, and I think everybody does that because we're all looking at the other four going like, are prophets cooler? I don't know. Maybe teachers just like have their crap together and they need to be respected more. And like, but I think all of us are judging and comparing, which can be the death of real freedom and expression and stuff. But so I like that. I like that you're like, I said it and it was weird, but it's like, because
it was
growing
weird.
in it's okay. That's the point. It's like you have freedom, and that's cool, man. That's really cool. Okay.
So, yes, I think I'm an evangelist. That's a very clear answer. But yeah, I think so. It feels so. And I felt Holy Spirit, even since you asked the question, like just stirring in my heart. Even when I heard everyone's answers, and I'm like, I'm actually going to say this out loud, like in public, basically. And it's weird, but it makes sense. But it's just, I have still a little journey to do of discovering how that looks like. But what I want to do is just wake up people to realize, to see who they are. And I don't care if they're Christians or non-Christians, because that's also a thing that I think that the church needs to be evangelized from inside again. Which I think is a little bit more of my heart in the evangelistic. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
totally.
Of course, I care for the lost. I mean, sure, absolutely, and I love to pray for people if I get a chance, and on the streets and so on. And also, what you said about compassion, I have so much compassion. I can have compassion for a mosquito, like it's crazy. I can cry of looking at Kitty or whatever on this TV kids program. I don't know. I'm weeping for everyone and everything that is have emotions and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense.
Can I give you what I would consider like a word from the Lord?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, this is like how I would consider. Sorry. All right. Here's your word from the Lord.
Thank you.
Romans 8:19. I think it's going to be a source point. It'll be like the well for how you do evangelism. And I think it gives you enough of an umbrella or a cover that you can function under that word in all of the areas that you feel called. So I would say that you are like a Romans 8:19 evangelist.
I want to read it.
Okay. So I'm just saying that's like, if I'm going to tell you like word from the Lord, it's probably going to be a Bible verse, because like that's like the word of the Lord. So that's cool. Like but I'm just telling you, there's something about that I go, yeah. Because again, you guys, we don't just rescue the lost, we empower the found. And the reality is that
I love that Bible verse. It's awesome. It's what I'm sitting preaching for my students in Sweden. I'm like, do you realize that the children is just waiting for waking up and realize who he is? Can you see him?
Yeah.
It's just what I want him to do. I was going to say that before, like, the one thing that stood out to me in this track was also that I want people to see him. Like, I think it was like the first or second class or something. Do you guys remember that?
I don't even know what week we're in, so no. But like, I'm sure
it was
sure
some day in the beginning. I don't know. Yeah, but it was like a big thing to me. Like, I want them to see him in their own kind of way. Like, how does Jesus look to you? Have you even seen him yet? Do you have a relationship with him? Okay, awesome if you have a relationship, but do you see him? Do you know him? Like, take them deeper also.
Would you? I don't want to screw anybody up, but would you guys be willing to do Kendrick Lamar homework this week?
What is that?
Okay, I'm gonna type this. I just want you to listen to this, and we'll call it PG-13, but it's a song that I need you guys to listen to a handful of times because I feel like it'll. Anyways, so it's on. Okay, here's the name of the song. You're probably going to have to listen to it like 4 or 5 times. But it's like a story. The Lord totally jacked me up on it this morning. I was like crying in the car, like, oh, snap. I haven't, oh my God. Like, I haven't listened to this record for a long time. And then it just popped out and I went, oh, snap. How are we going to see him? How are people going to see him? How do you reveal him? And it's like, it's across the board because for some people, it will be a notable miracle in their life. It will be an actual sensational power encounter event. And they'll go, whoa, there's a God. And then there's other times where, and I think Tasha, anybody that's done like any kind of revelatory or high level, like supernatural ministry, you put your hand on someone and don't say anything. And the Holy Spirit shows them everything and they preach to you and you didn't say anything. Like, when they say Jesus and you never did, that's where I'm like, oh, the Holy Spirit preaches better than me. Like, I just took their hands, they started shaking in their like topless whatever with like a snake painted on their face and like, whatever. They were offering to give me sexual favors as like a trade-off for a prophetic word. And now, boom, they're on the ground and now they're covering up and talking about the Lord. Like, who are you? And all of a sudden you're like, I didn't say that. Like, I never did. Oh my God. Like, so sometimes it is just a prayer and you let the Holy Spirit do something. Sometimes it's literally like a leg growing out, a cancerous tumor disappearing, a blind eye opening, or pain leaving their body. Like, there's got to be room for all of it. But there's got to be room for all of it. Because what I'm noticing in different movements is, and this isn't completely true, but let's say in the negative, a conservative Bible college wants the Bible to do all of their evangelism for them. Like, conservative churches want the Word of God to do the evangelism for them. Supernatural Bible school would want the miracles to do the evangelism for them. A crazy fringe ministry would want just the Holy Spirit to do only revelation, and that is the evangelism for them. And then social people that are committed to the needs and wants and feelings and social work would say, no, it's feeding the hungry and clothing the people that have nothing, and it's going to jail and ministering. Like, it's your actions that will actually speak. It's all of it. Like, it is all of it by like all the different means necessary. And so we actually have to be a student of whatever like community and whatever kind of like grace we can walk in and whatever atmosphere we're actually sharing in. You have to be sensitive to that, but we have to be willing to do whatever it's going to take. And what's cool about that is then we actually are students of how God opens up human hearts. That's all it is. It's like, how do we gain access to connect with someone so that Jesus can be revealed in them? That's like the whole point. How do we open up a human heart so they can say Jesus is King? How do they see him? And it's all of those. It's not one or the other. It's literally like a miracle's going to do it for some person, and their best friend is just going to need you to show up for them for 6 months and be decent, and then they'll open up their heart and let you talk to them. And then someone else, they just are stoked that you stop by their grandma's house to give them like a box of groceries, and then their whole family gets saved. And then someone else, it's like you're at some new age fair and they're like, I didn't know you would come here. And then you like blast them and they're like, oh my God, I love Christianity. This is crazy. I didn't know I could do that. Like, blah, like it's all of it, because it's all of it. And so the idea of how can we help them see Jesus, it's like we've got to be uber flexible in how we demonstrate that stuff, because I think it's cool. Tosh, what's up?
So I just wanted to say that this whole conversation that you two have started, I love it. Since I started Welton Academy, I have been asking other people, what do you think I am? You know, what do you think I am? And I've gotten everything, like all of the 5 except for teacher. You're definitely not a teacher. I've been called, you're definitely not a teacher, but you are a pastor, or you're also apostolic. You're an apostle. You're this, you know, all this different stuff.
All of it.
And I'm like, but what rings true to me is this, that I am an evangelist, and yes, I can do these other things under that.
That's
that, you know?
That's
so I think it's healthy to see that.
Yeah, that's,
you know?
it's, what is it unto? That's why it's like Ivan loves watching people get saved, and he loves when people in his church that he pastors are healthy. However, he is just a prophet. Like he is like that serves everything else he does. Whereas for us, everything else would serve this. Like, we want the whole world. We want everyone. We want Jesus to get what he paid for. We want everyone to see him. We want everyone to love him. And we don't just want him to get it. We want to share that with other people. Like, we want to feel what they feel when they love him. Like, we love the way that it's like, oh, dude, you get it. Like, oh my God, like, tell me about it. And we're like, because we're up and we're out. Like, we're just that way all the time. So even in the expression of evangelism, we love watching people. Like, I love watching people love him.
Yes.
Like that's part of it. And it's like, I don't know if other people celebrate that the same way, but I just feel like, dude. And then sometimes when people talk about him, so when I start crying, I'm like, don't talk about him. Like, it's going to mess me up right now. Shut up. Like, he's everything. So what do you think?
I'm crying when you say this. It's, yes.
my neck is like on fire. Like my
yeah. Yes.
Actually, I just talked something about what you were just saying about like the way that people see him. It just reminded me of I've told Diana this before, but that's the only person here. Like the first vision I ever had before I even knew like I didn't even go to church. Like this is like before I even went to church regularly. I just started going with my husband. I was like 17 or 18, so well over a decade ago. Probably like 12, 13 years ago. I didn't know anything about spiritual gifts, and I didn't know nothing about nothing. And
wow, that's a cool word that you just said. Shouldn't into nothing. That's
I had this crazy open vision, and it freaked me out so bad. And it was the first vision I ever had. And after that, I was like flooded with them. But like the first vision I ever had was me trying to ask God, like, I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. I don't know why this is like people make this so hard. It's so easy. Why does it have to be like that? And I mean, I'm just like a kid at this point, but I was frustrated from the get-go. like I don't get it. I wasn't raised in church. I don't get all this shit. Like just do, just be, right? But so I had this vision, and in it I was like standing on some kind of a stage or something with a microphone. And there was this it was like at some big conference or something, make-believe conference. And there was this giant banner behind my head. And it said, Christianity, taking the bad taste out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know what that means at the time, but like over the last 12 or 13 years of my life, like that's all I want to do. I just want people to see him. I want to take the bad taste out of people's mouth. I want them to know the authentic Jesus, the heart of the Father. And what you're saying about using the other fivefold, had this word 2 years ago. My favorite word I've ever gotten is from Hector Santos. I don't know if Diana, that was, oh no, it was before, it was right when we hired Diana, because we were talking about her this whole trip on a staff retreat, and Hector called in and did words for all of us. And mine, he was like, you are just real. There is no religiosity in you, blah, blah, talking about real. He's like, I just see you out doing karaoke and like people just like coming and hanging out with you and like getting to know Jesus. You're just out there like belting it out, girl. And then he did something at the end. There was this whole long thing, but at the end he said, preach, teach, prophesy, and get drunk. Preach, teach, prophesy, and get drunk. That is what you do. Like just getting overwhelmed and like messed up on the Holy Spirit. So
Yeah.
but it's just funny because it kind of incorporates several other things that I
Yeah.
have. So when you say using all the other gifts, it's like that makes sense anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, the point is clear. The point is clarifying for you guys. And so, Julie, like you're jumping on, I'm going to have Rudy go because he's been very patient and hanging out. But the question is, we're 10 weeks into the course. Do you actually feel like I am an evangelist, that this has actually unlocked something in me that, or it's confirmed? A lot of people, it's like, it just feels like confirmation, and it's giving me permission to just say like, yes, this actually is a huge part of who I am. And it's the grace, probably the primary grace that's on my life in the kingdom. So, and again, the hope of that is just alignment, that the body would work better if you're working better, and you're working better because you're actually in alignment. So, Julie, the question is ultimately, at 10 weeks, we're halfway through this course. Do you want to actually walk across like the podium or stand up in front of the community and say, I'm a fivefold evangelist, and this is the gift I want to give back to the church, or not? Because we're halfway through, and not everybody that's going through the mentorship really is like 100%. I know, but they're figuring it out. And so a lot of people have been in process. Even people that are in the mentorship started somewhere else, and now they're here because they're like, yeah, I think I'm an evangelist. So it's really just getting clarification and just wondering, because what I don't want is for people to think, well, just because I went through the mentorship, I'm automatically going to be commissioned to something that I'm not. I wouldn't do that to somebody. And I also want people to say, like Diana, feeling awkward saying it publicly, like, I am an evangelist. Like, some people have to grow into it because they're not used to it, and it meant something bad, or they weren't really sure. And so really this week, just trying to get some clarity from everybody and saying, do you actually feel like you are an evangelist? And is this actually unlocking something for you? Or are you discovering that while this is cool, this is not actually my primary thing? And that's going to happen in all 5 tracks. Like, it's just going to happen across the board. So, Rudy, talk to me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an evangelist. You know, I can't say, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's 100%. I am an evangelist. You know, before this mentorship class, and even it was I was just thinking back right now, it was last February when I went to the first Welton Summit on the West Coast. Well, not the first one, but my first one. And up in Sacramento, where I had heard you and Ivan and Eric for the first time. That was my first time. I had barely been 4 months into Welton. And I remember I had met Kenny, and I had met Kenny's friend Lindsay there. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we were praying, we were at a breakfast in the morning, and I had been asking God, like, God, how do I fit in all this? Where do I fit in? So many different ways I felt like I could go. I could be pastor. I could be, you know, I'm this, I'm that. I could be here. I could be there. I didn't really fully understand the fivefold ministry, other than just what I had been learning in the couple of months that I was going to Welton. Anyways, in that breakfast, they asked us to get into a group and pray, and so we did. And then afterwards, Lindsay comes up to me, and at the time I didn't know her or Kenny, and she says, you know, the Lord really just wants to put it in our heart to let you know that you're an evangelist. And I just kind of like smiled, and I, you know, yeah, right. She don't know what she's talking about. That's dumb, and you know, she doesn't know me and this and that. But in that process, and since that time, a couple of days later, even Ivan had gotten me and pulled me aside, and he did one of those, saw me from across the room, started walking towards me, and says, you know, the Lord was showing me this, and as it went on, it was that, that God had an evangelistic call in my life, but I didn't want to believe it because I had such a judgmental outlook towards evangelists, especially from the area that I live in. And it was a very negative, very bad taste for what I perceived an evangelist to be. And so in the last 10 weeks, and what God has really been doing is God has really been putting an identity to my life and the things that He's doing in my life. I still don't fully understand a lot. I mean, there's still some things that are still being unfolded. But in that aspect, and as far as the evangelistic grace or calling on my life, I began to accept it, embrace it. It started to stir some things up inside of me. Just whether it's like we said a couple of weeks ago, whether it was when Mark was down here and just looking at my city in a different way, in a different perspective, and really how I took it for granted, even just interaction with people, and how I kind of started as friendships were being brought back into my life, how it started to excite me and stir me up to want to encourage people and really bring them into a relationship with God.
That's cool.
A lot of different things in the grace part. I think one of the beautiful things, though, that God has really been doing through the last 10 weeks for myself is the confidence within myself and the outlook within how I look and I perceive myself. In the way that you said earlier, would you be able to look at yourself in the same way and defend yourself? A lot of that type of thinking has been coming up in the last couple of weeks, from sitting down and saying, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see how things are going to unfold? And so in that, the last 10 weeks have really begun to open a lot of those areas up within me. How do I see myself, as far as my expectations. After last week, I got off the call. I had to get off early, and the one thing I kept asking, like, what are my expectations? What are my expectations? And I haven't come in agreement with. And I think one of the things that my expectations is myself. It just kept coming up, and having expectations for myself, and not making them expectations rather than making agreements with myself. And so just a lot of things within the last 10 weeks that have been unfolding and been going on. And so, am I an evangelist? Absolutely.
Yeah. That's sick. Rudy, I love that.
Thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just think that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, now my question for my father and what I've been asking him is not what is my message for the next 80 years? Is something that you said, what is my next 80-year message? I praise God for the people that stand up on pulpits. If that's where God calls me to, praise God. But I'm more of the, in your last video, I'm more of that real person. I'd rather go. My pulpit is like you said, the streets on the concrete.
Come on,
that for me, that's a pulpit. That's my place. That's my place to be able to bring. Because there's a lot I know that have either been to church or haven't been to church that don't want to step foot in there. But if I can take it to them and just introduce them to that relationship and be that example with that 80-year message, it's like, for me, that's what excites me. That's what really gets me pumped up,
That's so good. Rudy, that's awesome. I'm a yes to that, man. I think that I don't think you should ever sell that vision short, because the reality is that that's where most people are going to be. That's where the majority of people are, more than this event focused once or twice a week kind of thing at a building. I think that's where you belong, man. And I think you flow there in a really good way. So I feel like that fits. And even you growing in wisdom and growing in stature and growing in discernment, it's like, I don't think you'll ever be too good for the street.
Right.
That's
right,
sick.
Absolutely.
I like it. That's super good. Hi, Piper Poo. My daughter shut up. Okay, so Julie, this is Piper Green. Hello. So, Julie, what do you think? I mean, everybody's had a chance to kind of answer. I know that you haven't had as much time, but really it was just kind of a clarifier. Like, after experiencing doing so many of the different tracks, even, right? Because you did a bunch, didn't you do like all of them? You like went through all of them, right? Like, so do you feel like the evangelistic grace is your grace? Do you feel like I'm an evangelist compared to everything else? Like, this is my thing. Um, and then how is this class either shown you that it is or that it isn't? Either way, but there's no, there's no judgment or critique of it at all. It's literally just asking.
I think I'd probably say I'm not sure. I'm still processing at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I see all these great people here, and I think, gosh, their personality is not the same as mine. They're a lot more out there, they're a lot more bubbly. And I know that I can be that as well at times, but naturally I'm more reserved.
Yeah.
And so I think, oh man, is that really what God's called me to do? And I know that I am prophetic. I know that I sense things in the spirit, so the gifts is happening. I know that I can sit down and teach somebody a concept or something. I could take something and teach somebody. That wouldn't be difficult. But this is kind of like stepping quite outside my comfort zone. And the 10 weeks is really, I know that I've opened up more. I know that I have moved more into things. I was reminded when I first went to Uganda, the first time I went, they put me up like evangelist in Uganda, the hellfire and brimstone type evangelist, and these really out there people, and they're up there and they're going to the microphone and they're yelling and screaming and carrying on. And I just knew that's not me.
Yeah.
But they put me up to bring an evangelistic message, and that's the kind of message they wanted me to bring. And all I could bring was, I want to introduce you to this man. I know this man called Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was and at the time I didn't have Welton behind me. I just before I started Welton, but that was all I could say was, let me tell you about this man. And for what they were wanting and what they were expecting from what they've experienced as an evangelist, I kind of fell flat with them. And I thought, man, is this really what my calling is? And I just love to get there and start to actually tell them about Jesus. But I think it's probably, and I said this before, I know about, and maybe I'm not the one that's just going to go out in the street and bring the people in initially, but it's the ones that think that they love God and they don't actually know Him, and that's what makes me burn.
Yo.
We were at a conference. It's the ones that have said yes, but not really said yes, if that makes sense. They've kind of said yes in a hype, yes in an emotional situation, but not really kind of thought about it and said, this is what I really want to follow. We were at a work conference yesterday. Now, I've mentioned I work for a Christian organization, but the group that I work with, they've kind of got church, some of them, but not many of them are actually Christians. And so it's really outside their comfort zones. And part of the conference, there was a worship session. And I'd said to the bosses, look, the girls in the Hamilton office are really not into God in the same way, and this may be really uncomfortable for them to sit through a worship session. So they came and said, yeah, if they want to leave, they can. But the team, they all sat there. There's two teams, my team, the finance, and the payroll team. And we sat on this long row. It's a Baptist church, so I didn't even know what to expect. And I'm sat there, and there's this fragrance of, I knew there was angels around. There was just fragrances wafting past me along this row where the girls were all sitting. They were just wafting past different fragrances, flowers, and I couldn't describe them because they were not smells I'm used to smelling. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to worship. I'm not going to do, be conscious that they're not, because a majority of the people in the room were Christians. And so the worship happened, and one of the payroll girls who's living a little bit of a rough life at the moment, so, you know, drinking, boozing, kind of rough life.
Sure.
She said to me afterwards, she leant across and she says, if those are songs is the churches in Hamilton that sing songs like that? And I says, yeah, sure. Did you know those songs? Yeah. And then she said, I nearly had to leave. I was just about crying. I don't know what was wrong. I was nearly crying.
Yeah.
And I just felt so much love. And another one of them later on in the day, she's, I think she's Hindu. She said, I was so overwhelmed. Why were people crying?
Yeah.
And I just felt so much love. And I really, that kind of little opening in the workplace, like I don't openly go and say, hey, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
But they kind of know. And so that's what's been opening up for me over the 10 weeks, those kind of little situations where there's little doors into people's lives. Another lady, again with work, that works in Auckland, she's told me before she's an atheist. So we had a conversation this week about church, God, and her view on everything. I just let her talk. But as to your question, I'm not sure. I don't know what I am. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give I have, so here's a verse that popped up for you, for me, for you, but for me, it popped up for you. Okay. And this feels weird to me, but it's okay. It's Proverbs 31:16. And this is the question, right? She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. So here's the question, right? Like, where else is a field that someone goes and buys? Where else is that spoken of in the Bible?
Are you asking me to answer that?
Yep.
Yeah. The fields are widen unto harvest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a field that's ripe unto harvest, and
the laborers are few.
Yeah. And the kingdom is like a treasure hidden in a field.
Yeah.
And when you find your treasure, you sell everything and you buy that field because of what's inside of it. So the real clarifying question for you is, because you missed part of it, but some of this is like evangelists in this generation of time. Some of them are absolutely going to predominantly work among the lost in the world. And then some of them are actually going to have a higher calling to the found in the church. So here's my question. Where's the field that you would sell everything to buy? What field would you give everything to buy if you could have the treasure that's in there? Where do you feel from Jesus? Jesus is like, Julie, with your life, if you would consider that field and you would buy it, from everything that would come of that, you would establish like a vineyard. You would establish the wine press. You would establish the oil press. Like, you'd plant a garden for me. But it's like, you'll have a good return. But where's the field that you would say, God, that's the field that I would buy? If I could buy that field and give everything I could, because if it's the people of God that don't know him, that's a cool field. If it's the people in the world that don't know him, that's a great field. If it's a specific region, if it's a nation, if it's a people group, if it's a culture, like whatever that is, my question would be, where's the field that you would sell everything to buy?
Can I share something else? Couple of things. There was one question which was said by one of the speakers, and you don't need to know the context of why I said it, but it hit me from a different reason. And he said, what's your why? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? They were talking about being in the trust and doing charitable work within New Zealand. What's your why?
Yeah.
And he said, if you can't answer your why in 5 seconds, then you don't know what your why is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been sitting on my heart a little. But planting a garden, I'm involved with the people in Uganda. And one of the things that happened last October was Pastor Stephen's father got really ill, is elderly, and he was terminally ill, basically. But long story short, there was huge medical bills over from October to now of about 10 million Ugandan shillings, which is about 6,000 New Zealand. And then he died last Thursday.
Mhm.
And to bury him was another 6 million Ugandan shillings. And that these people have got nothing to rub together. And I've been supporting them and practically, not completely, but practically paying that bill, which has put us in huge, I mean, we don't have that spare money just sitting around in our bank account, but we've been, really felt God saying to support them and pay that bill. And through that, he got saved. His mother got saved. She's now passed on. And the village where he lived, there's been such a huge impact there. And through the end of it, he had a tiny piece of land and he left it. He's got 22 children and umpteen wives because he was kind of a ratbag. And Stephen's one of the younger children, and he's left the little plot of land that he had to Stephen. So Stephen has now got a little plot of land to start the dream, the vision that we want to start over there, which is helping the community, helping the children, the children that don't have anything, and the widows and orphans. And so now through that process, at least 2 and others have been affected are saved. And this little bit of land has appeared, which is nothing that, I mean, we just would never have been able to afford to buy a piece of land. And I just feel as though, and the whole thing, like Stephen's preaches on the radio in Uganda every week, and I do as well when I go over, and the radio station don't charge him, they just give him that airtime for free. And it was preached out all over the weekend that his father had died, and the whole of the Christian community that supports Stephen, because he's well respected, all came to the funeral. There was like hundreds of them, just en masse. A whole group of Christians just turned up in this village. And one of the things Stephen had to avoid them doing in the village was putting charms and witchcraft stuff over the body, so because that's kind of what they do in that village. And the whole mass of Christians just arrived at the village, and I think there's going to be a powerful explosion for the gospel when I go out there in August.
Yeah.
Because of the love that Stephen's shown to his father through all that, through his father's death. So, I don't know whether that helped with what you're asking me, the question you're asking, but
I think you need to. I just feel like there's a part where I know that in a lot of ways there's a lot that you're sorting out and figuring through. Like when you begin to dialogue and you begin to process, I just can tell. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you're 100% convinced, but I feel like there's a whole lot where I'm like, okay. So when I give you that word, I just want you to think about it. But the goal is, if you don't feel like not just the why, right? Because like that's so like business talk. If you a strong enough why can withstand anyhow. Like I get it. We get it. Like the whole thing is, for me, this is about people. This is about Jesus. So that's between you and him. But there's a part where it's like, you have the right and you have the time. We still have another 10 weeks together for you to really process through this. But my goal would be that you would be able to say one way or the other, yes or no to evangelism, because then you've got clarity, then you've got understanding. And I'm intrigued to kind of see what comes of it for you. But I feel like for a lot of people, like, or for a lot of this, the reason I'd give you that verse is so if you don't feel called to a people, you don't even know what you're saying, right? So then it's like, well, then you're going to tell me what to say because you just want me to say what you want to say, but I'm thinking of the people, and so I would say it differently. So even just that distinction of like what's happening in your heart, being able to let go of a past experience and say, starting right now, is this it? Like, is this it? Like, is this really what's in my heart? Do I want people to get saved? Or do I enjoy some other part of discipleship? But I feel like my sense of it is that you probably have a stronger heart and call to the church than you realize. And that's good. That's a good thing. That's a powerful, powerful thing. So that's where I want you to actually sit and think about it a little bit. Because it's great. That's the whole point. It's like we're halfway in and I'm realizing there might be people just like you that are like, I don't know. I think I like it. I've been burned by it, so that's weird. But like you're not alone in that at all. So that's the point of let's begin to clarify. You know, do you really feel like this is going to help you find a stronger sense of why Jesus put a present inside of you for his people? Is evangelism that present? Right? Is pastoring that present? Is prophet that present, that as you unwrap it, you become a bigger present to the body of Christ? And so that's all this is. So again, there's no judgment or criticism. This is only clarification, because you're not the only person that's going to feel like how you're feeling at all. At all. There's 20 something of us. Like, you know what I mean? So it's all good. I'm just realizing if we don't actually ask and have that kind of a thing, you might feel pressured. Like, yeah, I am an evangelist because I did the mentorship. I get like that, but that's brutal. And that just all that does is put you in a box, and that's not the thing. That's not the point for me. The point is for you to find your alignment and go, oh yeah, I flow really well here. And so that's the point, is for you to figure that balance out for yourself. So it's real good. It's all very good. Think about it. Think about it a little bit. Virginia, you're fired. You're totally fired. You're too late.
Sorry.
I'm
driving.
What I'm saying though. The question is, and then I'm going to end the call because I got to go to my tax appointment after Virginia shares. So you got to say prayer words for us and listen to Kendrick Lamar and answer your little questions and take some time. So Virginia, the question is, at 10 weeks of this course, do you feel like you can say, like, I actually feel like the grace on my life is the grace of an evangelist? I do feel called to that. And then why or why not? And it's literally just for clarification, because we're halfway through. So the goal of this is to help people that were at 0 get to either 10, or 0 to figure out that they shouldn't get to 10, or they're already doing it and they'll actually be empowered and then actually established and sent out as like, you really are an evangelist. You should own that forever, and you should serve. Like, that's what you should do. Like, you give that away. And so what do you think? What are your thoughts at 10 weeks into the class, like halfway through this mentorship class? How are you feeling about the grace of an evangelist in your life?
Well, I definitely feel that it really got me thinking about what a grace of an evangelist is.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about that I don't feel I have is, like you've mentioned it, like that grace to move people's hearts. And so it's made me question, like, well, am I really an evangelist? Because I move people's hearts, but I don't do it necessarily on a larger scale, like maybe one-on-one. So it made me think of, well, maybe I'm not really an evangelist. Maybe I just love people and am more geared towards this one-on-one. Or it's definitely made me think, what is an evangelist? What is an evangelist? And I really connected, I think it was last week when you talked about being just a little person, like not having a large, stadium ministry as an evangelist necessarily. I definitely connected with that aspect of it a lot, because I feel really connected to people on that sort of intimate, personal, one-on-one level.
Yeah.
Much more than, but I like groups too, don't get me wrong. I like groups and I like ministering in a group. But I also started wondering if maybe I'm not more of a teacher, because what I really am passionate is to teach. But I do also love, I guess it's like a combination of teaching people, but reaching out to people about Jesus Christ and how great he is, and wanting to teach them about that. So it definitely made me think about whether I have that grace, because I don't, and I don't mean to compare, but I definitely, like, I look at like some of the other people in this group and I think, they're really powerful, like with a group setting. And I'm thinking, I don't think I'm that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what my thinking. It's definitely generated that question, like, is this really my grace? I'm not sure.
So, okay, I love that. And I think that's part of why I'm doing this, even asking publicly. So there are things that we could pop up and I could prop you up. Oh no, you're totally like you're so good at, that's not what this is for. I would love for you to spend some time, just like with Julie, just like with Kenny or with Tasha, like with anybody that's saying like, yes, I really want you to get clear about it, because there's a difference between I'm committed to someone's process, which is part of what a teacher does. Is like, I want you to get it. I want you to comprehend it. I want you to articulate it, and I want you to own it. Like, that's what a teacher does. So you're talking about one-on-one, which kind of sounds like discipleship or pastoral care, but then you're really saying, but I really like teaching people. So it's like, whoa, okay, well, cool. So I don't know is a choice. Yeah. So you've got 10 weeks to begin to break down. Is it that I'm more committed to people becoming disciples, and that's why I want to either shepherd people's hearts or teach them? Or is it that, no, I love preaching about Jesus and I want them to know him, and so actually my focus is that they would know him. And I want to watch them know him. I want to watch them like become part of that. There's a difference between discipleship and evangelism in some ways. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? And what is the difference to you between a teacher and evangelist? I love that even popped up for you. Like, I really love teaching. It's like, exactly, because there's people in the teacher track right now that are like, oh, I just want them to get saved. I thought I had to tell them about it for that to happen. Shoot, yeah. I should have been an evangelist. Like, everyone's going to be like flip-flopping. Like, we'll have calls as the mentors together and being like, dude, homie should totally be in your track. Really? Yeah. Like, they don't, no, they're, no, like, no. That, no, not even a little bit. So there's a part where we have those conversations because we ultimately, our goal is to serve you guys. Like, that's it. And so I love that you're like, man, this is raising the questions. So this would be my challenge, and this would be my commitment that I want you to make to me. You can't leave this mentorship with an I don't know.
Okay.
You have to have a I know something. Even if it's I know I'm not an evangelist, I will feel like, yes, awesome. That's part of what this is for. So then what I want to do is take all the pressure for everybody to I want to encourage everybody and I want us to be okay. But the reality is I don't want to encourage someone to be something they're not, but I totally want to challenge people if they feel scared to take the risk. And so that's a different thing. So as you think about what's been shared today, and I just want to maybe pour some extra love, I feel, on our Miss Julie, is I would love for a couple of you guys to just take some time, think of what she said, and with wisdom and with a real open hand, meaning we're not going to be married to what we're sharing. It's not going to make or break our relationship if you don't want to hear it or it doesn't make sense. I'd love for you guys to help Julie along a little bit with, what did you hear her say? What stuck out to you? Does that sound like maybe, is there evangelism there? Is it something else? But it's meant to be help build. It's meant to be constructive. So share encouragement about what you heard Julie say. Because Julie, the same standard would apply for all of us. I don't know is a choice. So you have to know by the end of this mentorship, before probably, but you have to know, no, I've clarified and I understand what's going on the inside of me. And maybe I'm a little stressed about for me, maybe I'm a little stressed about business. Maybe I'm not entirely sure what's going on with my work life. Kenny is going to have a job change. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in our life that has nothing to do with the grace that Jesus has given us. So it'd be easy to camp out in the uncertainty of life. But what I want is for us to check in for a minute. What is certain about what I love about Jesus and his kingdom? Where is it that I feel yes? And that you can know. You have permission to know and to develop a knowing about that. And you have 10 weeks. But what I don't want to do is put you in a box you don't want to be in. I don't want to encourage you to get good at something that you suck at. And I don't want to treat you like, oh, if I just encourage you, then maybe you'll get better. Like, if you're going to be a fivefold anything, there has to be such a strong sense of ownership that I would be doing a horrible disservice to you if I was like, no, skate through, it's cool. Like, that is not good leadership for me. And I would feel like a failure to you, all of you, if you were like, I really love evangelism, but you know what happened is like, no. And I'd be like, good, like, thank you. Because talk to Eric Gregson about trying to be an evangelist when you're not an evangelist. Like, 10 years of his life, I think one kid got saved, maybe. Like, and he wanted so bad, he would like preach, and no one liked it. It was bad. Like, he hated it, and he like loved it, but like he hated it, but he felt like he had to. And then I like showed up newly saved and said cuss words and all the wrong things, and a bunch of people got saved. And he was like, "What the heck is that? I mean, why did you get dumb?" Like, so I don't want you to do something that you're not called to do. And I definitely don't want you to feel like pressure to grow when you don't feel connected. And so I need you guys to all take stock of your life and understand that there's a bunch of other things, and I want you to choose into, but this process, really discovering what's going on in me, is uber important as a means to getting me down the road of my destiny. And so I have to settle some of these issues that have nothing to do with, like, I'm uncertain about who I am sometimes. I'm uncertain in these relationships over here. I'm figuring out my life over here. I'm figuring out self-discipline over here. But when it comes to the grace on my life, I get that. And I think I'm this. This is where my heart goes. And this is what I would give my time and my energy to. This is, if I only had a little bit of time to give, this is how I would give. That's it. If you like the Johnny Cash thing, if you're hit by a truck and you only have time to sing one song, what's the one song you're going to sing? What's the one thing you give away before you died? And that is probably going to give you a better indication of what is really going on the inside of you. So I want you guys to have permission. You have 10 weeks to walk through this. And if it's not confirmation, then you have to be willing to take a second look, because I don't want you to miss out on something that God has for you because of just one process. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. I hope you can hear, like, in my breakdown, I realize I come off intense in some of these, and I can come off like a dick, and or too like heavy-handed or mean almost, and I don't want to do that. And I've been guilty of it recently, where it's like, you did not feel safe to me at all when you were like coming at me. And I don't want to be that way. I want to do that a better way. And so just understand there's no criticism or anything. I'm realizing if we don't start having these conversations as a mentorship track, some of you guys are thinking, well, I guess I'm an evangelist, and that is not going to work for me at all. Nor will I think it work for the body of Christ as a whole. Like that's not good. So I'd rather you say I'm not than make up that you're something else if you don't know. And I'd rather you say that I'm not, but I think my heart goes here. That is awesome. And if you decide, yes, I am, and this is where my heart is, dude, that's sick. I will love it. I'll be stoked. But this is not about me. So I like you guys. I will see you next week. I want all your assignments. I want you to listen to gangster rap this week. So, but I'm serious. Listen to that song, because it's a version of Jesus. It's a vision of Jesus. But it's so, thinking years on and all that stuff. So, 10-year anniversary. Woo! Awesome. We'll see you guys in a few weeks. All right. Love you guys. Peace, love. Bye.